I call the album Carnaby Street because, you know, my roots are from the late 60s, early 70s rock and roll. And Carnaby Street was almost the epitome of swinging London in the 60s. That's where everybody got their clothes. And I was struggling to find a theme for the album. And I came up with the year that I came of age in terms of rock and roll, which was 1967. I thought I'd call it that. No, that's too corny. So I'll call it Frontman. Yeah, because there's no frontman. So I'll call it Frontman. Nah, that's too, that shows no humility. Everybody's going to loathe my ego. So then I came up with a metaphor of calling it a place, of determining the album's themes by this wonderful Oz of rock and roll, which was Carnaby Street. So it just sounded wonderful, and then I wrote the song, and it is the title song of the record. I believe in self-expression. I think, you know, I've done it all my entire life since I was 8 years old, and I'm 26 now. So, what do you mean? Why are you laughing? No, I'm kidding. So I've done it. I've been at it a long time. Is the point? I begun at 8 years old, and I've been in many different projects, and I've discovered that what's important to me is self-expression, and it can come in any form. It can come in music, and it can come in drama and comedy and writing and poetry and whatever it is. There's a need inside me to express myself, whether anybody's listening or not. That's what I've learned, that I can't get into the results of the thing. I can only enjoy doing it, and if people enjoy it, then you know, I'm very happy. But it was not a choice for me to be an artist. I just couldn't have done anything else. I learned very early on in my career to have absolutely no expectations because fundamentally it's an absurdity, because if you get hung up in the results of what you're doing, then you will inevitably be let down. I mean, if I, in the old days, went double platinum, you know, I would go, well, why didn't we sell 3? And it's absurd. So I have no expectations because, for that reason, and also because I am so confident about what we've done and how real and authentic it is, and what great band it is, and how the songs, you know, are, you know, humbly are fantastic. It's really, you know, classic rock and roll played by guys who know how to do it. So I don't need expectations. You know, I can just enjoy the process and enjoy playing these songs to as many people as we can. I don't think there is a music business. I think there is tremendous music, and I think that people have been now given the opportunity to hear a myriad of disparate bands. I mean, there's so many different bands that perhaps will never sell 25 million records, but they will have an audience. And if you do it yourself, and the guys that I'm allied with and the label that is putting my record out are just that. They deal in the fringes of music, what delights them, what they're turned on by. So it doesn't have that sort of bean-counting corporate culture. You know, it is from the love of music. The music business was as corrupt and as corporatized as any other brand. I'm not in a brand, I'm in a band. So I'm not interested in those kind of terms, you know, which was the music business. And remember, I've been in many, many, many bands, some of which were brands. And I'm not interested in that anymore. I'm into playing music that I adore, and the business side of it, I'm allied with really, really specific, loving, generous people that have allowed and permitted me and facilitated me to be able to express myself in this way. So I don't consider myself a part of the music business. I consider myself a musician. My band is truly shockingly spectacular, and I'm very lucky to have them. You know, it's hard to put together a band that can play this music, and the reason I say that is because the music that we're playing is authentic rock and roll music, based on American blues, rhythm and blues, the oppression of the African American, you know, that created the blues, and then the young white musicians adopted that as a voice for them. It's a very peculiar circumstance, but that's what happened. I am fortunate to be playing with people who adore that music. because of the music business, they have perhaps had to go in other directions. You know, they've had to conform to a particular artist's vision and play that vision. The criteria for being in the band was the fact that they loved the music that I loved, which is that those great blues bands and rock and roll blues bands from the late 60s, early 70s. So for them to play the music, it's exciting. And therefore the album sounds exciting because they love playing it. They also have worked with, you know, Iggy Pop, you know, Ricky Martin, James Blunt. I mean, you know, it's all over the map because they're so good at what they do. But fundamentally what they want to do is play 3-chord, unabashed, rockin' music. I just discovered a band called Alabama Shakes that are sort of a blues-oriented band. I believe they're from Memphis. They have a 22-year-old African-American girl singer. They sound like Booker T and the MGs, Steve Cropper, you know, that wonderful Stax music, which I love and still listen to and was terribly influenced by that kind of music. They're really good. Love Jack White because he's just so you know, courageous in his choices. You know, he'll put out these different versions of his vision, you know, which is terrific, and writes a catchy song. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of people that I enjoy. I loved Amy, you know. I loved Amy, and was really her demise affected me greatly. I try and keep abreast of contemporary music and musicians. I really, listen, when people say, Michael, what are you influenced by? I'm influenced by anybody that had the balls to plug in. You know, I mean, then it becomes subjective. You know, I don't, you know, rail against Lady Gaga or Justin Bieber. God bless them. It's nothing to do with me. But I am not in the position of standing against. I don't define myself by what I don't like. I define myself by what I love. And there's a real difference, you know. So I love people that have a go, that plug in and have the balls to do it. Everyone, boomers and hipsters. In fact, it's funny, you know, we've been playing for about a year in the South, in Nashville and Austin and California, and 80% of our audience is 20-year-olds. Because what they're doing, they see us as an indie band, because what I'm playing is classic rock and roll music, which has completely disappeared. Rock and roll became ironic, it became angry, it became apologetic, it became sentimental. My music beats below the waist. Rock and roll is below the waist music. Little Richard is what I'm into. I'm not into talking about the abuse I got from my uncle. You know, and I'm not railing against the fact that people are, there's no bitterness in my life, you know. I love the carnality of rock and roll. I love artists that you can make love to. The one thing I've learned is to let people in. Don't cut yourself off from the world. Let people in. Have the courage to let people into your life so you can connect with people. This is the most important thing. That's why the social network can be easily negated by cynics. But cynicism is dead. It's old thinking. Joy and love is everything. And as I say in our song, You're My Painkiller, I say, love is the drug that dreams are made of. You're my